Here is another oft-stated discriminating factor that purportedly defines the difference between the East Coast sound and the West Coast sound. The thing that I dislike about the whole coastal paradigm is that it pits Bob Moog and Don Buchla against each other. It portrays them as two divergent forces, and it almost at times creates this sort of Edison-Tesla sort of concept where they were against each other, or one did something first and another one did something first or whatever. It wasn't a competition, although it was a competition apparently early on when these two guys found out that the other guy was doing the thing. They eventually became friends, and it was not a competition. They even performed together once. They were not adversaries, and their designs were not adversarial, and they weren't like in some sort of competition in general over the latter span of their life. And because this paradigm sort of makes it seem like that's how it was, this paradigm like constantly says, well, this one did this, but this one did this. It doesn't really recognize what they both did together, which was so crucially important. It's so amazingly important, and no one ever talks about it. You might remember when I was talking about history, I was talking about the inaccessibility of 20th century electronic music and how it was focused on serialism and various aspects that made it, as weird as it sounded, it was also musically weird. So the general listener was just kind of like, are these Halloween noises? Which is, I think, a lot of mid-century electronic music compositions are used as Halloween accompaniment. But anyway, so there was an accessibility problem in electronic music because composers really wanted to get away from traditional music. But getting away from traditional music, there are reasons that there are elements of traditional music, not that we're just doing because we don't know what else to do, but because they tie in music as a whole to our perceptions and the way that our neurology works. And this is super important. So when we got all crazy about what was possible, we left kind of expression in the dust. We left direct communication, not abstract communication, but direct communication in the dust. So here are these two inventors. One of them was contacted by a more abstract composer, and another one, a more traditional composer. But these two composers, talking to these two inventors, inspired these two inventors, but both of these inventors were expressive musicians in a way. Don Buchla was a musique concrète composer and very interested in human interaction with the technology. Bob Moog was a theremin maker and someone who played the piano and recognized that expressiveness was important through interaction. The whole theremin concept is about expressive interaction. So you had these two inventors who took this new technology, took transistors, and took the composer's wishes and put them into compact electronic music studios. But instead of making them just studios, both of these inventors made their studios into instruments that were capable of being expressively played because of the various interfaces, including musical interfaces, that they involved. Bob Moog and Don Buchla, through their efforts, had, a vast array of impacts on electronic music and popular music and music in general. But what they really did for electronic music is they made it accessible again because they encouraged the performer to perform. Instead of being a studio person, directing the recording and, making things happen for the recording, both of these inventors made their instruments able to be played in a live setting with intention and expression. And in doing so, brought something to electronic music that had not, up to that point, really existed within the progress of the concept as it was progressing. And this is a major thing that both of these guys did together, not in tandem, but certainly at the same time, which really changed everything in a way that people generally don't talk about.